Anaya's small town was a world apart, tucked away between golden fields and winding dusty roads, where mornings dawned with the soft scent of wet earth and evenings hummed gentle lullabies carried on the breeze. The houses were modest. Walls painted in fading pastel colors, and the streets were filled with familiar faces who greeted her with warm smiles or nods. But Anaya always felt a little different, as if her heart was tied to a distant melody no one else could hear since she was a little girl. She had carried a secret inside her, a boy who lived only in the quiet corners of her mind. He was never fully seen, but always felt in the way the rain tapped softly on the rooftop, in the gentle sway of the trees, and in the pause between day and night. Her dreams painted him with soft strokes, eyes like the calm before a storm, a smile that could make the world pause, and laughter like the echo of wind through the fields. She wrote about him in a little leather-bound journal, filling pages with poetry and questions letters to a boy she hoped to find someday. The journal was her treasure, hidden beneath layers of notebooks and textbooks. Safe from curious eyes, her mother noticed her quietness, the distant look in her eyes, but never asked too much. Instead, she tied a sacred thread around Anaya's wrist each morning, a small blessing, whispered with every nod. Her father, stern yet tender, held her hand tightly the day she left for the city, his eyes shimmering with unspoken prayers. Anaya stood on the platform, the roar of the train like thunder beneath her feet, clutching her bag and her journal, heart pounding between excitement and fear. Maybe, she thought softly, the city will bring me the boy I have dreamed of all my life. The city was alive in a way Anaya had never experienced. The streets buzzed with a restless energy, cars honking, footsteps hurrying past, and distant chatter blending into a symphony of sounds. Tall buildings stretched toward the sky, glass windows catching the sunlight and reflecting a world so different from the calm village she'd left behind. Anaya felt like a small boat adrift in a vast, roaring sea. Her first days at university were a whirlwind of new faces, crowded lecture halls, and unfamiliar classrooms. She kept to herself mostly, finding refuge in the quiet corners of the library, where the air smelled of old pages and whispered stories. One afternoon, as she hurried up the stone steps to the library, her head bent over a notebook, she didn't notice the tall figure standing right in front of her books slipped from her hands, tumbling like fragile leaves to the ground. "Oh, I'm so sorry," she gasped, kneeling to gather her scattered things. A pair of hands reached out to help steady. Warm as their fingers brushed, Anaya's breath caught. Looking up, she saw him, dark eyes, thoughtful and calm, held her gaze with gentle curiosity. His smile was soft, like sunlight filtering through clouds. "You okay?" he asked. She nodded, cheeks flushing. "Yes, thank you." He handed her a book. The cover was worn, but the title caught her eye. Poems of the Heart. She blushed deeper. "I'm Arav," he said, his voice low but clear. "Anaya," she replied, almost a whisper. Her diary had slipped open among the books. A line of poetry peeked out. "He waits in the rain between dream and dawn." Arav's eyes lingered on the words for a moment, a smile touching his lips. "That's beautiful," he said softly. Anaya's heart fluttered like the first breeze of spring after a long winter. In that moment, something shifted, delicate and new, like the turning of a page, the start of a story neither of them knew yet. The days after their first meeting felt like walking through a soft fog. Every sound muted, but every heartbeat loud and clear. Anaya found herself looking for Arav's presence in the spaces between her classes, her thoughts tracing his smile like a secret melody she could barely catch in the library. She sat in her usual quiet corner, her journal open on her lap, scribbling verses inspired by the flutter inside her chest. The world outside the windows seemed distant, but the warm glow of the afternoon sun wrapped around her like a comforting shawl. Suddenly, a soft clearing of the throat startled her. She looked up to find Arav standing a few feet away, Holding 2 steaming cups of chai, his dark eyes held a gentle smile that made her pulse skip. "I thought you might like this," he said. Offering her one, Anaya hesitated for a fraction of a second before accepting the cup. The warmth seeped into her fingers. Grounding her, they sat side by side, neither rushing to fill the silence. The library's quiet was their shared companion. The turning of pages and the occasional distant footsteps that only soundtrack over time, Arav became a familiar presence. Calm anchor in the rush of city life, he never pressured her with words. Instead, he listened. He noticed the way she tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear when nervous, the subtle smile that curved her lips when she read something she liked. One afternoon, as the sun dipped low and painted the sky in hues of amber and rose, they walked together through the campus gardens. The air was heavy with the scent of blooming jasmine, and the soft rustle of leaves whispered secrets just for them. They talked about everything and nothing, favorite books, childhood memories, dreams that felt too fragile to voice aloud. Anaya wanted to tell him about the boy she dreamed of all her life, the one she'd written about in her journal, but the words caught in her throat, tangled in fear and uncertainty instead. She let her silence speak. Arav reached out once, lightly brushing her hand with his fingertips. It was a delicate touch, like a question asked without words. She didn't pull away that simple contact scent. It thrilled through her, a fluttering warmth that spread from her fingers to her heart. At night, alone in her dorm room, Anaya would replay their moments together. She pressed her palm to her chest, feeling the steady beat, and whispered into the darkness, "Who are you, really?" Was he the boy from her dreams, or someone new, someone real? Her heart whispered back in silence. The campus was alive with the soft hum of twilight, lanterns casting pools of golden light over winding paths. The evening air was thick with the scent of wet earth and blooming night flowers. A quiet symphony that wrapped around Anaya like a gentle embrace. She walked slowly, her fingers trailing along the leaves of a nearby bush, as if grounding herself in the moment. Tonight was special, an event the whole university awaited. The cultural night where stories were told through music and dance, where hearts sometimes found their voice. Anaya wore a simple blue dress, the fabric flowing lightly with each step. Her hair, usually pinned back, cascaded in soft waves over her shoulders. She felt different, more exposed, yet somehow more herself. Arav found her by the edge of the crowd, where the lights flickered like stars caught just above the earth. His eyes searched until they landed on her, and a slow smile curved his lips. "You look beautiful tonight," he said, his voice low and sincere. Anaya's cheeks warmed. "Thank you, it's the dress." I think he shook his head gently. "It's you, it's always been you." The words hung in the air between them. Fragile and full of promise, they moved to sit beneath an ancient tree, its branches heavy with fragrant blossoms around them. Laughter and music mingled, but in their shared silence, a different melody played, a song of yearning and unsaid feelings. Arav's gaze softened. "Anaya, I've been wanting to tell you something." Her breath hitched. The moment she'd imagined, both dreaded and hoped for, had arrived. He took a deep breath, his voice steady but tender. "I like you. More than just a friend. I think I've liked you since the day we first met." Anaya's heart thundered against her ribs, a wild bird desperate to escape. She wanted to say yes, to let the floodgates open and drown in the warmth of his affection, but fear wrapped cold fingers around her throat. She thought of her small town, the unspoken rules, the weight of expectations. She thought of the threads of tradition binding her tightly, and the whisper of doubt growing louder inside. "I'm sorry," she said softly, her voice trembling. "I can't." Arav's smile faltered, just for a heartbeat, before he nodded. "Okay." He stood, the disappointment in his eyes shadowed by understanding without another word. He walked away into the night, leaving Anaya surrounded by the murmurs of the crowd and the ache of what might have been alone beneath the stars. Anaya's tears fell silently, each drop a quiet confession of a heart torn between love and fear. The days after Arav's quiet retreat stretched endlessly. Like shadows growing longer in the fading light, Anaya moved through them as if underwater, each step heavy, each breath slow and deliberate. The city's noises, once exciting and new, now felt harsh and overwhelming. Like a storm raging beyond a fragile window pane in lectures, her mind drifted away, lost in memories she couldn't forget, the soft curve of Arav's smile haunted her, how he had looked at her with such hope and tenderness, only to disappear into silence when she pushed him away. She found herself sitting alone on a bench beneath a sprawling neem tree, its leaves whispering secrets in the breeze around her. Life went on, students chatting, birds calling, but she felt frozen inside, a quiet witness to a world that no longer seemed to belong. Each night, in the solitude of her dorm room, the loneliness crept in deeper. She pulled her thin shawl tighter around her shoulders and sat by the window, watching raindrops race down the glass, tracing rivers of sorrow she could not voice. Her journal lay open on the wooden desk, but her pen hovered hesitantly over the blank page words, once her closest friends, now tangled in webs of regret. How do I write about a heart that feels broken and hopeful all at once? She wondered. The scent of jasmine floated in from the courtyard below, sweet yet sharp like the ache inside her chest. She remembered the way Arav had brushed her hand, a light touch that had sent warmth rushing through her veins like a secret fire. She longed for that connection again, but was trapped behind walls built from fear and hesitation. On some days, she caught herself staring at her phone, fingers trembling as she typed out messages she never sent, words of apology, of longing, of love too late spoken in the college canteen. When she saw Arav laughing with friends, the ache twisted sharply. A silent scream held hostage inside her throat. Tears came quietly, in moments no one saw, on lonely walks under starlit skies, in the privacy of her room, while gazing at the moon, wishing it could carry her whispers to him. One rainy evening, as the sky wept soft silver tears, Anaya stood beneath a street lamp, the glow haloing her soaked hair. She clutched her journal close, the leather cover cool against her palm. Maybe I was too scared, she whispered, voice trembling. Maybe I let my silence break us. Her breath fogged in the cold air, mingling with the gentle drizzle. In that moment, the city felt vast and endless, but inside her, something began to shift, a flicker of hope, fragile but real. She opened her journal and wrote slowly, each word a trembling confession. If I could turn back time, I would tell you, yes, I would tell you that I never stopped dreaming of you, that my heart has always been yours. Even when I was too afraid to say it, the butterflies in her stomach took flight, their wings beating in nervous rhythm. And beneath the quiet sky, Anaya made a promise to herself, a promise to find courage, to speak her heart before it was too late. The morning sun spilled through the curtains, painting Anaya's room in gentle golds and warm shadows. Today felt different, a quiet urgency humming beneath the calm. For weeks, she had held her feelings close, nursing the ache of regret and silence. But now, something inside her shifted, a fragile resolve blossoming amidst the cracks of doubt. She traced her fingers over the worn leather cover of her journal, the same journal that held whispered dreams and painful confessions. Today, she would not hide behind silence. Her heart thudded unevenly as she picked up her phone. Her fingers trembled, hesitating over the screen until she found his name, Aravon Breath. Then another. She typed slowly, each word a step toward bravery. Can we meet? There's something I need to say. Her thumb hovered, frozen. Before she pressed, in minutes felt like hours. Her phone vibrated. A message from Arav. I've been waiting to hear from you. Relief and nervousness collided in her chest. She smiled, a soft tear tracing down her cheek. They agreed to meet in the campus garden, the same place where their friendship had blossomed. Under the shade of jasmine trees and fading light, Naya arrived early, her heart fluttering like a bird caught. Between hope and fear, the air smelled of wet earth and flowers. Every scent magnified by her racing pulse. Arav appeared quietly, his familiar presence grounding and electric all at once. They sat together on a wooden bench, the silence stretching but no longer heavy. It was a space filled with possibility. Anaya. As voice trembled as she began, "I'm sorry. For everything. For the fear that kept me silent, for pushing you away. I was scared. Scared of losing myself. Scared of what it all meant." Arav reached out, his hand finding hers gently. "You don't have to be scared anymore," he said. Softly, "I'm here." Tears welled up, but this time they were tears of relief. A release of the weight she'd carried alone for so long. She squeezed his hand, her heart unfolding like a delicate flower reaching for the sun in that moment. Beneath the jasmine-scented sky, words weren't enough. Their eyes spoke the promises their hearts finally dared to whisper, and for the first time since that night at the cultural festival, Anaya felt the sweet flutter of hope, a tender beginning to a love neither time nor fear could undo. The days that followed felt like the first warm breath of spring after a long winter soft. Hesitant and full of new life, Anaya and Arav began weaving themselves into each other's worlds, slowly, carefully, like two melodies finding harmony in a gentle song. They spent afternoons wandering the campus gardens, their fingers brushing as they talked about dreams and fears. Hopes and memories. Anaya showed him the pages of her journal, sharing poems and sketches she had never dared reveal before. Arav listened, eyes bright with wonder and tenderness, as if holding fragile treasures. One rainy afternoon, they found shelter beneath a large banyan tree. The rain fell in sheets, a rhythmic drumming overhead. Arav softly as raindrops slid down Anaya's hair, mixing with the tears she didn't bother to hide anymore. "I like that you don't hide your feelings," he whispered. "It makes you real." Anaya smiled through her tears. "You make me feel safe enough to be real." Their closeness grew, not just in words, but in the quiet moments, the shared glances, the comfortable silences, the way their breaths seemed to sink as they sat side by side. But love, as tender as it was, carried its own shadows. Anaya struggled with the weight of her small-town fears, what her family might say, what tradition might demand. Arav faced his own uncertainties, wondering if their different worlds could truly blend one evening. As they walked home under a tapestry of stars, Arav stopped and took her hands in his. "Anaya, whatever comes, I want us to face it together," he said, voice steady but soft. "No more silence, no more fear." She nodded, the knot in her chest loosening just a little. They were no longer two separate dreams, but one story unfolding, a love that grew stronger in its quiet honesty. The city lights shimmered like scattered stars beneath the deep velvet sky. But for Anaya, the glow felt distant, an illusion she could no longer fully reach. The closer she grew to Arav, the heavier the weight of her world pressed down. That evening, they sat on a quiet bench near the college gates, the hum of late-night traffic swirling around them like a restless tide. Arav's fingers traced gentle patterns on her hand. "Seeking connection, I want to be honest with you," he said softly. "There's something I've been wrestling with." Anaya's heart caught. She could almost hear the careful tremor in his voice. "It's about us," he continued, eyes searching hers. "I know your world is different, and sometimes I feel like I'm on the outside, trying to find my place." She swallowed hard, the familiar ache of fear tightening her chest. "I'm scared too," she confessed, voice barely above a whisper. "Scared that what we have might not be enough, or that the world outside won't understand." Arav reached up, brushing a stray lock of hair from her face. "I want to fight for us, Anaya, but I need you to believe that we can." Tears welled in her eyes, tears not just of doubt, but of hope. Struggling to bloom, their silence deepened, filled with the weight of unspoken fears and unyielding love. In that fragile moment, beneath the endless sky, they promised to stand together through shadows and light, because love was not just butterflies and dreams. It was courage, trust, and the quiet strength found in holding on. Even when the path was uncertain, life settled into a gentle rhythm, weaving Anaya and Arav's days together like threads in a delicate tapestry. The city's chaos softened around them, replaced by small moments of quiet magic that made their love feel both real and infinite. They studied side by side beneath the sprawling branches of the old banyan tree. Sharing books, notes, and shy smiles, Arav loved how Anaya's eyes lit up when she spoke about her dreams, and Anaya treasured the way Arav listened, truly listened, with a warmth that made her feel seen. Evenings were often spent walking home through lantern-lit streets, their hands entwined, words flowing softly between them like a secret language only they understood one night. As rain began to fall in soft sheets, Arav pulled Anaya close beneath his jacket, the world shrinking to just the two of them. "Make even the rain feel like a song," he murmured. She smiled, resting her head against his shoulder, feeling the steady beat of his heart beneath her ear. But amid this tenderness, life nudged them with small challenges: a missed call from a worried mother, a demanding assignment, the pressure of uncertain futures yet. Each challenge was met with quiet strength, their love a steady flame that refused to waver. Anaya learned that love wasn't just about grand declarations, but the everyday choices to be kind, patient, and present. And Arav discovered that true courage was in vulnerability, in letting someone in fully and without fear. Together, they danced through the ordinary and extraordinary, their hearts growing ever closer in the tapestry they wove, one thread at a time. The warm glow of the late afternoon sun spilled through the classroom windows, casting golden light across the pages of Anaya's notebook. She sat quietly, tracing the letters of a poem she had written about Arav, the words filled with a softness she rarely shared aloud across the room. Arav's gaze found her steady, unwavering. In that look, there was a promise, a silent vow that words could never fully capture. After class, they lingered in the courtyard, where the scent of marigolds mingled with the gentle hum of bees. Arav took her hand in his, the simple touch grounding them both. "5 years from now," he began, voice low and filled with hope, "I want to be standing beside you, not just as a memory, but as the man you've dreamed of." Anaya's heart fluttered, a quiet joy blooming in her chest. "And I want to be with you through every step, every challenge." Their fingers intertwined, sealing the unspoken promise that would carry them through days of uncertainty and moments of pure light. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of pink and violet, Anaya felt for the first time that love was not just a dream, but a journey they would walk together, one tender, fearless step at a time. The scent of freshly brewed coffee mingled with the quiet murmur of the early morning cafe where Anaya and Arav often met between classes. The world outside bustled with hurried footsteps and honking cars, but inside time, slowed just for them today, felt different. A delicate tension hummed beneath their usual ease. Arav reached across the small wooden table, his hand warm and reassuring around hers. "I've been thinking a lot about what comes next," he said, voice steady but thoughtful. "After graduation, after the city." Anaya looked down, tracing the grain of the table, her heart tightening. The future was uncertain, and the weight of expectations loomed. "I want to stay close," she whispered, "but sometimes I fear the pull of home, the dreams that don't quite fit with this life." Arav's gaze softened. "We don't have to have all the answers right now. We just have to trust in us." Her eyes met his, a spark of hope lighting the quiet space between them. Together, she breathed. In that simple word lay the promise of 1,000 tomorrows, imperfect, unknown, but theirs to shape. The soft glow of dawn filtered through the curtains, casting gentle hues across the room where Anaya sat, sketchbook open on her lap. Her pencil moved slowly, capturing the curve of a smile she saw in her mind, Ara's smile, the one that could brighten even the darkest days outside. The city stirred awake, its familiar sounds weaving a comforting backdrop to her quiet thought. She glanced at her phone, a message from Arav lighting the screen. Meet me by the old oak tree at sunset. Her heart fluttered like 1,000 butterflies, a nervous excitement that mingled with calm certainty as the day passed. Anaya's mind danced between the possibilities of the future and the reality of the present. The weight of her small-town roots tugged gently at her, but the promise of love gave her strength when the sun dipped low. Bathing the campus in golden light, she found Arav waiting beneath the sprawling oak. His eyes held the same hope and tenderness that had drawn her in from the start. Without words, he reached for her hand, fingers entwining like the roots beneath the tree, strong, steady, and full of life. I don't know what the future holds, he said softly, but I do know that I want to face it with you. Tears glistened in Anaya's eyes as she smiled, the fears that once held her captive melting away in the warmth of his embrace. In that moment, beneath the whispering leaves, they made a silent vow to build their tomorrow together, one heartbeat at a time. The autumn breeze carried Christmas. That whispered change leaves, golden and red, danced around the campus pathways. Mirroring the fluttering emotions in Anaya's chest, she sat on the steps outside the library. Her favorite book resting unopened on her lap, Arav appeared beside her, his presence a steady calm in the shifting world. Without a word, he handed her a steaming cup of chai, the familiar warmth settling between them like a promise. They spoke of small things first, upcoming exams, plans for the weekend, the quirks of their professors, but beneath their light conversation lay a deeper current, the unspoken understanding that life was pulling them toward new horizons. Anaya, as gaze drifted to the horizon where the city's skyline met the fading light. Sometimes I worry, she admitted softly, about whether we'll stay close, or if life will pull us apart. Arav's fingers found hers again, their grip gentle but sure. No matter where we go, or what changes come, he squeezed her hand, will keep us anchored. A quiet smile lifted Anaya's lips, the weight of her fears eased by his unwavering faith. In the midst of uncertainty, their love became a harbor, a place to return to, no matter how far the winds might blow. Together, they faced the future, hearts anchored in the deep, tender bond they had nurtured with patience and hope. The golden hues of early evening bathed the city in a soft glow as Anaya sat quietly in her room. The familiar hum of distant traffic, mingling with the pounding of her hard-A letter, lay unopened on her desk, a message from home. Heavy with the weight of expectation, her parents' words were kind, yet firm. It was time to think seriously about her future, about traditions and the paths laid out before her. Naya's thoughts tangled in a web of duty and desire. She wanted to honor her family's hopes, but also to follow the fragile thread of love she had found with Arif. Phone vibrated. Arif's name flashing on the screen. She hesitated, then answered. His voice was calm, steady, a balm to her restless soul. Whatever happens, we face it together, he said simply. Tears blurred her vision as she whispered, I don't want to lose what we have. We won't, he promised. Love isn't just about easy days. It's about holding on when everything else tries to pull you apart. In the quiet strength of his words, Anaya found courage. She folded the letter carefully and stood, determination settling in her bones. The crossroads of hearts was daunting, but with Orav by her side, she felt ready to walk any path. The soft hum of early morning filtered through the window as Anaya sat at her desk, the golden light gently touching the pages of her notebook. Her pen moved with steady grace, jotting down plans and dreams, the next chapter of her life beginning to take shape. Beside her, Arav brewed fresh coffee, the rich aroma filling the small apartment they now shared. The city outside was waking, but inside, time seemed slower, filled with the comfort of routine and love after years of study, of late night talks and stolen moments. They have found a rhythm balancing careers, family expectations, and the quiet but unwavering bond between them on weekends. They explored new parts of the city, dreaming aloud about the home they would one day build together. Their laughter echoed through narrow streets and cozy cafes. Each step forward, a promise kept one evening. As the sun dipped low and painted the sky in hues of amber and rose, Arav took Anaya's hand in his. His eyes held the same tenderness that had drawn her to him years ago, but now they were filled with a deeper certainty. We've come so far, he said softly, through every challenge, every doubt. You've been my anchor, Anaya smiled, heart swelling with quiet joy, and you've been my courage. Together, they watched the city lights flicker on, each one a small beacon of hope. Their love was no longer just a dream, but a life being built, day by day, steady, real, and endlessly beautiful. The soft glow of the evening wrapped around them like a gentle embrace as Arav and Anaya walked hand in hand through the quiet park near their apartment. The world around them was calm, the air fragrant with blooming jasmine. Arav paused beneath the ancient oak tree, the place where so many of their memories had been woven. His gaze held a mix of nervousness and certainty as he reached into his pocket. Anaya's breath caught from the velvet box. Arav lifted a simple ring, delicate, yet radiant in the fading light. Anaya, he began, voice steady but full of emotion. These years have been the most incredible journey of my life. Through every challenge and every joy, you've been my strength and my home. Will you marry me? Will you continue this journey with me? Not just as lovers, but as partners for life? Tears shimmered in Anaya's eyes as she nodded, words caught in the overwhelming wave of happiness. Yes, she whispered, her voice trembling with love. I will. They embraced, the world around them fading into the soft hum of their hearts beating as one that night. Beneath a sky sprinkled with stars, they dreamed of the future, a life built on trust, passion, and the quiet magic of shared dreams. The morning sun bathed the small chapel in soft light, casting long shadows that danced like blessings across the wooden pews. The air was filled with the delicate scent of roses and jasmine, their petals carefully arranged to celebrate a love years in the making. Anaya stood before the mirror, her hands trembling slightly as she touched the delicate lace of her wedding dress. A quiet calm settled over her, a mixture of joy, anticipation, and the profound sense that this moment was the beginning of everything she had ever dreamed her. Thoughts wandered back to that small town where she had once been filled with uncertainty and fear. Now, here she was, ready to step into a new life with Arav, the boy who had become her greatest strength. Outside, Arav waited, his heart pounding with love and gratitude. As she appeared at the chapel's entrance, his breath caught the sight of her glowing with happiness and hope. Their eyes met, a thousand unspoken words passing between them. The ceremony was simple but filled with meaning, vows spoken softly, promises made with every look, every touch. We will walk together, Arav vowed, through every joy and challenge. Anaya smiled, her voice steady and full of love. I will stand by you, always. As they exchanged rings, the world seemed to pause, the city's noise fading into a quiet symphony of two hearts finally united later. Beneath the open sky, surrounded by friends and family, they danced, their laughter mingling with the gentle breeze, the future unfolding before them like an endless horizon. Years of dreams, tears, and courage had led to this perfect moment, a love story not just told, but lived together. They stepped forward, hand in hand, ready to write the chapters still to come. Forever begins here.